Listen, I've been running intake processing at the Galactic Defense Academy for 17 cycles now, and I thought I'd seen everything. Every species has their quirks, right? The Vorthians pass out if you look at them funny. The Keltrax need atmospheric adjustments every 4 hours or they start wheezing like broken air filters. The Planari, don't even get me started on the Planari and their 17 dietary restrictions. But humans are something else entirely. My name is Korvik, and I'm what you might call the welcoming committee here at GDA Station 12. It's my job to make sure new recruits don't die in their first week. Sounds simple, except when you're dealing with 200 different species, each one more fragile than the last. The mortality rate used to be embarrassing before I streamlined the orientation process. Then Command sent me a human. The notification pinged on my datapad during morning rations. Incoming recruit, species designation human. Origin planet Earth, Orion Spur sector. I almost choked on my nutrition paste. We'd heard rumors about humans for the past few cycles, whispers in the cantina about some deathworld species that had just achieved faster-than-light travel. Word was their planet was categorized as a Class 12 hazard zone. For context, anything above Class 7 is considered uninhabitable by civilized standards. These creatures evolved on a world that actively tried to kill them every single day, and somehow they thrived. I figured Command was pulling my tail, sending me some kind of test. But no, 2 days later, there she stood in my processing bay, grinning like she'd just won the galactic lottery. "Hi, I'm Dakota Mills, reporting for basic training." She stuck out her hand, which I'd learned was a human greeting gesture. I cautiously extended my foreclaw and she grabbed it, shaking vigorously. The grip strength was frankly alarming. Dakota was average height for a human, maybe 1.7 meters, with dark brown skin and black hair pulled back in what she called a ponytail. She had these bright, curious eyes that seemed to absorb everything at once, and she was smiling, actually smiling. Do you know how rare that is? Most recruits show up terrified, homesick, or both. "Welcome to GDA Station 12, I said, pulling up her file on my pad. "I'm Intake Coordinator Korvik. I'll be overseeing your orientation and initial assessment." "Awesome. Oh man, I can't believe I'm actually here. I mean space. Actual space. And aliens. You're my first real alien. Well, second if you count the guy at the transport hub. But we didn't really talk much." She was babbling. Humans do that when they're excited, I'd learned. I scrolled through her file looking for the usual red flags: medical conditions, environmental needs, chemical sensitivities. That's when I noticed the gravity setting. "Dakota," I said slowly, "your Homeworld's gravity rating is listed as 1.0 standard units." "Yeah, that sounds right. Earth gravity, we just call it 1G. "And you're comfortable in that environment?" She laughed, actually laughed. "Comfortable? I mean, yeah, it's just normal, you know? That's just like how gravity works where I'm from." I stared at her. 1.0, the standard unit we use across the galaxy, is based on the average of 73 founding species. Most civilized worlds range between 0.6 and 0.8. My own homeworld sits at a comfortable 0.7. This human's normal was one full standard unit. "Dakota, do you feel alright right now? Any dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing?" She looked confused. "No, I feel great." "Why?" "The station's standard gravity is set to 0.8. You're currently operating at 80% of your normal environment." "Oh," she bounced on her toes, testing. Yeah, I guess I feel a little lighter. That's pretty cool, actually." Cool. She thought it was cool. Meanwhile, I was recalculating everything I thought I knew about biological tolerances. "Right, well, let's get you processed. Standard procedure, medical scan, equipment fitting, then we'll run you through the basic physical assessment." The medical scan took twice as long as normal, because the technician kept running the readings multiple times, convinced the machine was broken. Dakota's bone density was off the charts. Her muscle composition made the Krelton warriors look scrawny. Her cardiovascular system was, according to the increasingly panicked medical officer, aggressively over-engineered. "Is she going to be okay?" the medical officer whispered to me, showing me a readout of Dakota's heart rate. It was fast, really fast compared to most species. That's normal for them, apparently, I said, having pulled up the limited data we had on human physiology. Their hearts just do that. But why? Because their planet is trying to kill them every second of every day, and their bodies adapted by becoming ridiculously dirigible. Dakota overheard us and laughed again. Oh, come on, Earth isn't that bad. We've got nice beaches, mountains, forests. It's beautiful, really. Your forests contain predators that can rip through steel plating, I pointed out. Well, yeah, but only in some places. And we've got fences and stuff now. Fences. They built fences to keep out the murder beasts. And they thought this was a selling point. After medical cleared her, somehow, we moved to equipment fitting. This was usually straightforward: scan the recruit, print out a suit that matches their biology. Except Dakota's specifications broke the fabricator twice. Her temperature tolerance range was absurd. She could survive in environments that would freeze or cook most species. The environmental suit we finally produced for her had to be rated for extreme conditions just to match her baseline requirements. This is so cool, she said, examining the suit. It's like something out of a video game. Oh, does it come with a helmet? Yes, though, according to your file, you can survive in most station atmospheres without it. Can I keep it anyway? It looks awesome. I was beginning to understand why Command had warned me that humans could be enthusiastic. Then came the physical assessment. This was where I expected reality to hit her. The assessment course was designed to test basic competency across multiple domains: strength, endurance, agility, problem-solving under pressure. It was calibrated for average galactic standards, meaning it was challenging but achievable for most species. Drill Sergeant Krath was waiting at the course entrance. Krath was a Vorgan, big, muscular, with 4 arms and an attitude that could strip paint. He'd been running recruits through their paces for 30 cycles, and took pride in his perfect safety record. Nobody got seriously hurt on Krath's watch, but nobody had an easy time either. This, the human, Krath rumbled, looking Dakota up and down. Yes, Sergeant. Dakota Mills, first human recruit, scrawny little thing, isn't she? Krath leaned down, bringing one massive eye level with Dakota's face. You sure you're up for this, Tiny? Dakota grinned. Born ready, Sergeant. I appreciated her confidence, even if it was probably misplaced. Sergeant, I should mention, humans evolved under 1.0 standard gravity. Krath's eyes widened slightly. The only sign of surprise you'd ever get from him. 1.0? Seriously? Her medical file confirms it. He straightened up, rubbing his chin with 2 hands while the other 2 crossed over his chest. Interesting. Very interesting. Tell you what, little human, I'm going to give you a fair shot. We'll run you through the course at 0.8, same as everyone else. Sound good? Sounds perfect. I should have known something was wrong when Krath smiled. He never smiled. The course started simple enough. An obstacle run, climbing walls, balance beams, rope traversals, standard stuff. Dakota approached the first wall, a 3-meter vertical climb with minimal handholds, and just went up it. Like gravity was a suggestion she'd chosen to ignore. She practically flew over the top, dropped it down the other side, and jogged to the next obstacle. Krath watched with his arms folded. The balance beam usually tripped up new recruits. It was 10 meters long, 15 centimeters wide, suspended 2 meters off the ground. Dakota ran across it like she was on solid ground, barely slowing down. Interesting, Krath muttered. The rope climb was next, 10 meters straight up. Dakota attacked it with technique that suggested training. Hand over hod, legs wrapped for support, smooth and efficient. She was at the top in under 30 seconds. Krath's tail started twitching. This was bad. When Krath's tail twitched, he was plotting something. You're doing very well, recruit, he called up to Dakota. Why don't you take a water break? I need to calibrate some equipment. Dakota descended and headed for the water station. Still smiling, not even breathing hard. I approached Krath cautiously. Sergeant, what are you thinking? He didn't look at me, just kept staring at the control panel for the gravity field generators. She's barely trying, Korvik. That human is walking through this course like it's a rest day. She's from a 1.0 environment. What did you expect? I expected effort. I expected struggle. I expected to see what she's actually capable of. His claws moved across the controls. If 0 0.8 is too easy, let's see how she handles something more challenging. Krath. No, you can't just watch me. He input a command sequence. I'm setting the gravity field to 1.6, double her homeworld's gravity. Let's see what the human's really made of. That's insane. That could injure her. Her medical file says she can handle it. Besides, I'll be monitoring closely. First sign of distress, I'll shut it down. He paused. Probably, definitely. I meant definitely. Dakota finished her water and jogged back over. Okay, Sergeant, what's next? Krath smiled that predatory smile again. Next, we see what you're really capable of. I've adjusted the gravity field in the next section. Consider it a special challenge. Just for you. Oh, cool. I love a good challenge. I wanted to intervene. File a safety complaint. Something. But technically, Krath wasn't violating any protocols. The gravity generators were approved for training use. The range he'd selected was within rated parameters, and Dakota's own medical file suggested she could theoretically handle it. Theoretically. Whenever you're ready, recruit, Krath said, gesturing to the marked zone where the gravity field would activate. Dakota stretched her arms over her head, rolled her shoulders and stepped forward into the zone. The gravity field kicked in immediately. 1.6 standard units. Double Earth's gravity, more than twice the station's normal environment. The air itself seemed to thicken. I felt the pull from where I stood outside the field, and it made my knees want to buckle. Dakota took another step, then another. Huh, she said, looking down at her feet. Did you change something? The floor feels different. Krath's jaw dropped. All 4 of his arms fell to his sides. I checked the readout. The gravity field was definitely active. 1.6, exactly as programmed. Hitting Dakota with twice her homeworld's crushing pull. She rolled her shoulders again. Is there like a weight limit on this part of the course? The air feels thicker or something. Krath's voice came out strangled. You don't feel anything unusual? I mean a little. Dakota bent down, touching her toes easily. Like maybe I warmed up too much? My muscles feel kind of tight. But I'm good to go. She proceeded to run the entire advanced course under double gravity like she was out for a casual morning jog. Krath watched in complete silence as she scaled walls, cleared jumps, and navigated obstacles that would have been challenging at 0 0.8. At 1.6, they should have been nearly impossible. The strength required, the endurance, the sheer physical resilience. Dakota finished the course and jogged back to us, slightly flushed, breathing a bit harder, but smiling that same bright smile. That was fun. A little tougher than the first section, but fun. What's my time? Krath looked at his datapad. Looked at Dakota. Looked back at the datapad. You set a station record. Really? Oh wow, that's awesome. Under double gravity. Wait, what? Dakota's smile faltered. What do you mean double gravity? I stepped in. The sergeant adjusted the gravity field to 1.6 standard units for that section. She blinked. Oh, that's why it felt different. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I thought maybe I was just tired or something. You thought you were tired, Krath repeated flatly. Yeah, but I pushed through. My track coach back home always said the burn means it's working. Krath's tail had stopped twitching. In fact, he'd gone completely still, which was somehow more terrifying. Your track coach? Aha. I ran cross-country in high school and college. Nothing crazy, just for fun and fitness. Just for fun, I echoed weakly. Yeah. Though I gotta admit, this is way cooler than running around campus. Alien obstacle courses in space. My little brother is going to lose his mind when I tell him about this. Krath finally moved, turning off the gravity field and walking stiffly toward his office. I need to file a report, he said, to no one in particular. Multiple reports. Maybe talk to a counselor. Did I do something wrong? Dakota asked, looking genuinely concerned. No, I assured her. No, you did. You did very well. Exceptionally well. The sergeant just needs to process some things. Oh, okay. So, what's next? More obstacles? Weapons training? Ooh, do we get to learn about the different alien species? I have so many questions. I looked at this human, this creature from a death world who'd just casually demolished every physical standard we had, who thought double gravity was just a bit of extra resistance, who was smiling and enthusiastic and completely unaware of how thoroughly she'd broken our understanding of biological limitations. And I realized that the next few weeks were going to be very, very interesting. Let's start with species orientation, I said weakly. I think we all need to sit down for a while. 3 days later, I was still finding Drill Sergeant Krath in various states of existential crisis. The first time was in the armory, where he was just staring at a standard-issue pulse rifle like it held the secrets of the universe. The second time was in the cantina, where he'd apparently been sitting with the same cup of cold stimulant beverage for 2 hours. The third time, I found him in my own office. She lifted a Kreneth shipping container yesterday, he said without preamble. I looked up from my data pad. I'm sorry, what? During equipment loading drills. The hover cart malfunctioned, so she just picked it up. 200 kilograms. Just picked it up and carried it to the storage bay. He shook his head slowly. She apologized for taking so long because she had to set it down twice to rest her grip. Her grip, not her arms, not her back. Her grip. Korvik. Krath slumped into the chair across from my desk. Do you know what she asked me after? I'm afraid to find out. She asked if we had a gym on the station because she didn't want to lose her fitness routine. He laughed, a slightly unhinged sound. A gym? She's already operating at levels that would qualify her for advanced special forces training, and she's worried about losing fitness. I'd been reviewing Dakota's integration reports, and they painted an increasingly bizarre picture. In hand-to-hand combat training, she'd accidentally thrown her Vexillian sparring partner across the entire mat. The weapons instructor reported that her reaction time was 40% faster than the average recruit. The zero-gravity maneuvering test had been cancelled after she'd somehow managed to stop her own spin through sheer core strength alone, something the physics instructor was still trying to explain. It gets worse, I told Krath. Medical ran a follow-up scan yesterday. Of course it does. Tell me. They wanted to establish baseline stress markers, so they monitored her during what they thought would be a challenging exercise. They had her run a 10-kilometer course in the station's service tunnels. And her heart rate barely elevated. Korvik, the medical officer, says that according to human physiology standards, Dakota was functioning at roughly 60% of her maximum capacity. During what we classified as an extreme endurance test, Krath put his face in all four hands. Why would evolution do this? Because Earth is apparently the universe's most aggressive training facility, I said. I've been reading the reports from the exploration teams that visited their planet. Krath, their atmosphere is 21% oxygen. Do you know what that does to fire? Makes it worse. Makes it catastrophically worse. Their entire planet is one spark away from burning at any given moment. They just live with it. They cook their food with controlled fire. Inside their homes. On purpose. That's insane. It gets better. Their planet has these massive water currents called oceans that cover 70% of the surface. These oceans are filled with predators, some of which can grow up to 30 meters long and are armed with hundreds of serrated teeth. And humans. They swim in them, for recreation. Krath looked up. They what? For fun, Krath. They swim in water filled with apex predators for fun. They even have a whole sport where they ride on top of massive waves that could easily kill them. I need a drink. It's 1000 hours. I need several drinks. Before I could respond, my datapad chimed with an urgent notification. It was from the combat simulation supervisor, marked priority urgent. My stomach dropped. Oh no. What now? Krath groaned. Dakota's scheduled for her first live fire combat simulation this morning. We both moved at the same time, racing toward the simulation center on the lower decks. The combat sims were carefully controlled environments where recruits faced holographic opponents and obstacles designed to test tactical thinking and combat readiness. They were safe, monitored, and had never resulted in a serious injury in the 15 cycles since implementation. I had a horrible feeling that track record was about to change. We burst into the observation deck to find Simulation Supervisor Trell frantically working multiple control panels at once. Through the reinforced window, I could see the simulation arena, a modular environment currently configured to resemble an urban combat zone with buildings, cover points, and multiple elevation levels. "Status report," I barked. Trell jumped, his antenna quivering. "Intake coordinator, thank the stars you're here. We have a situation." "Where's Dakota?" "In the sim, we started her on level 3 difficulty. Standard protocol for recruits who passed basic physical. Level 3 involved 12 holographic hostiles using standard tactics, cover fire, flanking maneuvers, coordinated suppression. It was challenging but manageable for a trained recruit with proper equipment." "I don't see her," Krath said, scanning the arena. "That's because she's in Section 7 Delta Quadrant, currently engaging, well, all of them." Trell brought up the tactical overlay. 12 red dots representing the hostile holograms were clustered in what looked like a defensive formation. A single blue dot, Dakota, was moving through the map at a speed that seemed frankly impossible. "She flanked the entire formation in the first 30 seconds, Trell explained, his voice climbing in pitch. "She didn't use cover. She just ran. The holograms couldn't track her movement fast enough to establish a firing solution. On screen, we watched Dakota slide under a barricade, come up firing, take down 3 hostiles with precise shots, then vault over a barrier that was nearly 2 meters high, without breaking stride." Is she laughing?" Krath asked. The audio feed confirmed it. Dakota was indeed laughing, whooping with excitement, as she moved through the simulation like a force of nature. "This is amazing," her voice crackled through the speakers. "It's like the paintball arena back home, but with way better graphics." She popped out from behind a wall, took down 2 more hostiles, then did something I'd never seen in 15 cycles of watching combat simulations. She threw her weapon. The pulse rifle sailed through the air in a perfect arc, struck a hostile's holographic projector, and destroyed it. Dakota rolled forward, scooped up the rifle, and kept moving. "Did she just improvise a throwing weapon?" Trell stammered. "The rifle weighs 6 kilograms. On her planet, that's basically nothing," I muttered. The simulation ended 2 minutes and 47 seconds after it started. All 12 hostiles eliminated. Dakota stood in the center of the arena, breathing slightly elevated, rifle held in a ready position, scanning for additional threats. "Simulation complete," the automated voice announced. "Time, 2 minutes 47 seconds. New station record, previous record, 8 minutes, 12 seconds. Dakota lowered her weapon and pumped her fist in the air. "Yes! Oh man, that was so cool! Can I go again?" Trell looked at me with wild eyes. "She wants to go again." "Level 3 was too easy," I said, making a decision I'd probably regret. Trell bumped her to level 7. "Level 7, Coordinator? That's rated for veteran operatives with at least 2 cycles of field experience. And level 3 was apparently a warm-up exercise. Let's see what she can actually do." Krath grinned, his earlier crisis forgotten in the face of professional curiosity. "Now we're talking. Run it." Trell hesitated, then shrugged and input the commands. Level 7 configuration, 24 hostiles, advanced tactics, environmental hazards, and oh no. "What oh no?" I demanded. I forgot level 7 includes the adaptive difficulty modifier. If she's performing too well, the system automatically increases the challenge. "Can you turn it off?" "Not once the simulation starts. It's already running." In the arena, walls reconfigured, new obstacles emerged from the floor, and Dakota took a ready stance as the hostile counter on the display climbed to 24, then 30, then 40. "Why is it still going up?" Krath asked. "The system detected her performance in the first sim," Trell said weakly. "It's compensating." The counter stopped at 60. 60 holographic hostiles with advanced combat programming, environmental hazards and adaptive tactics, against one human who, 3 days ago, had never seen an alien before. This is going to be a disaster, I muttered. The simulation began. Dakota moved immediately, not toward cover, but toward the nearest group of hostiles. She slid under their initial volley, came up firing, and took down 4 before they could adjust. A holographic grenade landed near her position. Instead of diving away like any sane being would, she kicked it back toward the hostiles. "That's not possible," Trell shrieked. "The grenades are simulated to weigh 3 kilograms, and the kick force required to—" Dakota had already moved on, flowing through the arena like water, every movement economical and precise. She used the environment like she'd trained in it for cycles, bouncing shots off angled surfaces, using elevation changes to her advantage, even managing to cause 2 hostiles to shoot each other when she ducked at exactly the right moment. "Where did she learn to fight like that?" Krath asked, mesmerized. I checked her file again. Her records say she has basic self-defense training, and wait, she played something called lacrosse. What's lacrosse? According to this, it's a earth sport, where humans throw a small ball at high speeds using netted sticks while running and physically colliding with each other. That's a sport. Apparently it started as combat training for warriors. Then they just kept doing it for fun. On screen, Dakota executed a maneuver that would have required years of zero-gravity combat training. She used a piece of falling debris to boost herself upward, gained a high position, and rained suppressing fire on 3 different hostile groups simultaneously. The simulation's difficulty modifier kicked in again. Environmental hazards activated. Electrified floors, falling debris, simulated fire that would signal a fail state if contacted. Dakota treated them like a jungle gym. She wall ran to avoid an electrified panel, flipped over a piece of falling debris, and slid under a burst of simulated flame with inches to spare. She was breathing harder now. I could hear it over the audio feed, but she hadn't slowed down. 18 hostiles remaining, the simulation announced. "She's already eliminated 42, Trell said in a stunned whisper. "In 4 minutes. How is she tracking them all?" Krath wondered. The tactical awareness required humans evolved as persistence hunters. I interrupted, reading from the species file. They tracked prey across vast distances using pattern recognition and environmental awareness. Their brains are literally wired to process multiple moving objects simultaneously. That's cheating. That's biological cheating. Dakota cleared the remaining hostiles in 90 seconds. The final elimination involved her somehow ricocheting a shot off 3 different surfaces to hit a hostile that was in full cover. When the simulation ended, she stood in the center of the arena, hands on her knees, actually breathing hard this time. Simulation complete. Time, 6 minutes, 19 seconds. Difficulty level 7. All objectives completed. 0 errors. New station record by system error. Previous record does not exist for this difficulty level. "Can I?" Dakota panted into the comm. "Can I get some water?" That was actually a workout. Trell sat down heavily. "I'm going to have to recalibrate the entire simulation system. I'm going to have to recalibrate my understanding of physical limitations," Krath added. I was already thinking about the implications. If one human could do this, and Dakota insisted she was just average for her species, what would happen when more of them arrived? Command had mentioned Earth was sending a full recruitment cohort next cycle. 200 humans, 200 beings from a death world who thought double gravity was barely noticeable and treated advanced combat simulations like entertainment. We brought Dakota into the observation deck for debriefing. She was still flushed from the exercise, drinking water from a container that was nearly half her body weight. "So, how'd I do?" she asked brightly. "You did very well," I managed. "Exceptionally well. Perhaps too well." "Oh no, did I mess something up?" "I know I took a risk with that ricochet shot at the end, but I calculated the angles and figured it would probably work." "You calculated," Krath said slowly. "The angles. For a 3-surface ricochet, while under fire. In real time, yeah. It's just geometry, right? Angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. We learned that in high school physics." Trell made a sound like a deflating balloon. "Dakota," I said carefully. What you just did would be considered an expert-level performance by our standards. Most recruits take weeks to clear level 3. Level 7 is reserved for veteran soldiers. Her face fell. Oh. Did I skip ahead too much? I didn't mean to mess up the training progression. Should I do the lower levels first? No, it's not that. It's just, we need to reconsider how to properly challenge you. Our standard training regimen might not be adequate. Oh, she brightened immediately. So, I get special advanced training? That's so cool. Krath and I exchanged glances. We were going to need to completely redesign the training program. Maybe consult with special forces. Possibly petition command for additional resources. My datapad chimed. Another message from command. I opened it, read the contents, and felt my scales go cold. What is it? Krath asked. Command received the reports about Dakota's performance. They're pleased. That's good, right? They're moving up the human recruitment cohort arrival. Instead of next cycle, they'll be here in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But we haven't even finished processing Dakota. There's more. They're not sending 200. Well, that's a relief at least. How many? I looked at the number on my datapad, then at Dakota, who was cheerfully chatting with Trell about whether the simulation could be modified to include more aerial components. 500, I said quietly. They're sending 500 humans. Krath's tail started twitching again. Dakota overheard us and gasped with excitement. 500. Oh wow, I won't be the only human here anymore. That's amazing. Maybe some of them will be from my hometown. Or, oh, I hope someone brings hot sauce. I miss hot sauce. Hot sauce? Trell asked. Yeah, it's this spicy condiment we put on food. Really wakes up your taste buds. Your food is bland by default? Some of it, yeah. So we add capsaicin extract to make it more interesting. Capsaicin, that's a chemical irritant, I said, checking my datapad. It triggers pain receptors. Why would you add pain to your food? Because it tastes good, Dakota said. Like this was the most obvious thing in the galaxy. Krath stood up abruptly. I'm going to request a transfer. You can't transfer. You're the head drill instructor. Watch me. I'll go teach asteroid mining procedures. Nice, quiet, safe asteroids that don't eat poison for fun. Oh, come on, Sergeant, Dakota said. Once you meet more humans, you'll see we're not that weird. We're actually pretty normal. The three of us just stared at her. This creature who'd barely noticed doubled gravity, who'd set records we didn't even have categories for, who thought chemical irritants made food better, normal. She thought humans were normal. Dakota, I said gently. I think you and I have very different definitions of that word. She just grinned that bright, enthusiastic grin. Probably. Oh hey, when do we start flight training? I've always wanted to fly a spaceship. Krath walked out of the room without another word. I heard him muttering something about retirement benefits and stress leave. Trell looked at me with wide, pleading eyes. What are we going to do with 500 of them? I looked at Dakota, who was now doing stretches and asking if there was a running track on the station. I realized something profound. We weren't training humans to meet our standards. We were going to have to raise our standards to match the humans. We're going to adapt, I said finally. Just like they did on their impossible deathworld. We're going to adapt or we're going to get left behind. Dakota finished her stretches and beamed at us. So, same time tomorrow, maybe we can try level 8. Oh, and does the station have a pool? I really miss swimming. We have a hydration facility, Trell offered weakly. Perfect. How deep is it? 1.2 meters. Oh, that's pretty shallow, but I guess I can do laps. Do you guys want to join? Swimming is great cardio. I imagine Dakota's human cohort arriving, 500 enthusiastic deathworlders ready to swim in our shallow pools, eat pain for breakfast, and treat our most extreme training as a light warm-up. The galaxy was going to have to get used to humans very quickly, and somehow, I suspected the humans were going to enjoy every minute of our collective panic. Sure, Dakota, I said, feeling oddly resigned to my fate. We'll join you for simming. After all, if we couldn't beat them, we might as well learn from them. Even if the lessons came from the universe's most cheerfully terrifying species,